And today we're going to be talking about the party wall implications of when you're building home and loft extensions. And you already know Dil, our regular contributor on this program. So I'll tell you a little bit about him. Gujral, he's the Chief Wall Surveyor at 1996 Party Wall Ltd. He's got over 10 years experience in the industry, dealing with construction projects ranging from complex commercial projects to simple residential extensions. At 1996 Party Wall Ltd, which is his company, he deals with matters relating to the administration of the Party Wall Act, and in particular, they will help anyone who's received a party wall notice or is planning to undertake construction projects notifiable under the Party Wall Act. Their aim is twofold. Firstly, it's to help developers and builders, homeowners and property owners intending to carry out any of the following works, which includes commercial development projects, loft conversions, rear side extensions, basements, removing chimneys and porches, and helping property owners, landlords, investors, property managers who've received party wall notices to protect their property. Depending on the type of project, their services may be paid for by the owner carrying out the works. Dil's also created and presented an online training course, which is called the Party Wall Act, Brick by Brick, which is certified as continued professional development, CPD for professionals in the construction and other industries requiring professional development. And now I'd like to hand over to Dil for this week's presentation.
Wow, what a great introduction! Thank you for that. I'm looking around to come and wonder who's going to do the presentation. You must be good at it. Right? So hopefully, right? Sorry, yeah, mucking around. Thank you for that. It's very kind words. I will try and do it justice. So let's have a go at this. So yes, the Party Wall Act and the Party Wall process. Have you put enough 50p's in so I could share my slides? Oh dear, David, you're putting in 50p's, are you? Right, hang on a sec. This better. Okay, so hopefully we've got enough 50p's. I'm going to share some slides, and unfortunately, I do have to say something. The Party Wall Act has nothing to do with supervising parties. I really wish it was, because it's fun, but yeah, damn. It's been such a long time since I've done a Zoom presentation. I've lost the mouse clicky thing. Hang on, right, stay there, don't go away. I'm gonna get this back. Right, okay. So let's get going. Let's share some slides. Well, hey, we got enough 50p's and we're gonna share the slides. Right one. Got the wrong screen. Okay. The Party Wall, etc. Act 1996 and the Party Wall process. Nothing to do with parties, I'm afraid. It's the Party Wall. The wall that separates, the definition is a wall that stands on land of two adjoining owners. That's the definition. It covers a bit more than just the wall itself. So we had a training with the judge, went to see him speak, and he said, well, you know that bit ETC that they're stuck in the middle. Apparently there's 37 acts of parliament that have done that, and it's largely so that they can stick other bits of legislation. They can't work out a name for it, so to stick this bit in. So that's why it covers more than just party walls. Okay, right. I'm going to get going in a minute as soon as I can locate my mouse. Okay. Next. Right, okay. So getting a bit distracted. Right. Party wall process. Let's get on with it. What is the party wall process? And when do we have to take care of it? Where's my mouse gone? Oh, here we go. Right, okay. So I'm going to, on this particular presentation, most of the questions, most of the work, it's the old 80-20 rule, are done in residential settings. So, and if you're doing anything more complex than this, you need to engage a party wall surveyor. So I'm going to talk you through the principles. So 3 types of houses, 3 types of work. We're going to keep it simple. 3 types of works. You've got rear extension, loft conversions, and chimney breasts. So when chimneys are split into 2 parts. So you've got the roof. Above the roof is a chimney stack. Anything below the roof is a chimney breast. So that's where the difference is. Chimney stack, different kettle of fish. We won't talk about that for the moment. It's a slightly bit more complex. Porches is another one. Outhouses is another one. And through lounges, although people have stopped doing those, thank God, is another one. So those are 4 less common types, but we're going to stick to the most common type. And if you've got a terrace house, this doesn't seem unfair to me. All those 3 works will be notifiable. Now, if you've got a semi-detached house, the loft conversion is notifiable to one owner. Chimney breast is notifiable to one owner, and rear extension is notifiable to that one owner. On the other side of a semi-detached, the rear extension might be. So there's a question mark on the rear. I think I should update the slides and say chimney breasts are probably notifiable, right? Okay, let me move this out of the way. You probably can't see it on your screen. Right. If you own a detached house, so if you've got some money and you're not a poor person like me living in a terrace, slightly less poor person like Charanjit, and you're slightly more affluent like Surinder, and owns a detached, I think he owns a detached house. I don't actually know. I'm making it up. So if you own a detached house, you're not worried about a loft conversion. You don't need to notify your neighbors of a loft conversion. You can remove your chimneys, nothing to do with them. Now, the rear extensions is a question mark. It depends on the distance between where you're excavating and where your next door neighbor's property is. Hence the reason for that diagram. Okay, let's get going. So, really like this section. The secret 7 section. We should have this more often. Yeah. So what is the secret 7 section? Number 7. Is it the law? I get this question quite a lot. Yes, it is the law. The Party Wall Act is the law. There's an act of parliament on it. Number 6. Number 6 most frequent question. What if I have planning permission? Hill, I got planning permission. Do I still need the Party Wall Act? Yes, you do. That's what the law states. As long as you fall under your work falls under what they call notifiable works, you still need planning permission. And are we going to get to number 5? Do I need to undertake the party wall process? Yes, you do. So, and it all depends on if your works are notifiable. So that's the key phrase, notifiable works. Okay. Counting down to number 4. Do I need a party wall for a chimney removal? Right. So as I said earlier, chimneys in old Victorian houses are quite, I think they're quite a good feature, but we want to remove them. Okay. So yeah, it's only a little bit of work. Now the problem with a chimney, and I'm going to focus on the chimney breast removal because chimney stacks get more complex. Yeah. Might have a little go at explaining that. So chimney breasts are usually about 2 foot wide, meter and a half long. You think, it's mucking up my wall, let's get rid of it. Let's delete it. And as some planning guy said to me once, yeah, you could delete this. And I'm sitting there thinking, it's not a computer program. You can't delete it. You have to take it out. But it's easy. So it's easy to think of it that way. Oh, well, we're like a nice wall. The problem with chimney breasts when they're built with houses on party walls, when the builders were building them, they're building them all in one go. And when you take them out, it's one of the most risky parts of work you could do under the Act. So you take out a chimney breast because you're having to cut the bricks that are interwoven with the party wall. They're all built in one go. It is actually the most risky part out of the 3 types of common works. So just be aware of that. You do have to notify. This is the work that's most likely to cause damage next door. Yeah. So don't say I didn't warn you. Okay. Number 3 in our secret 7 list. My neighbors have dissented. Can they stop my works? Well, No, not really. Okay. Dissent means they've dissented to your notice. It's a technical definition under law. So they've dissented to your works, which means they have a right to appoint a surveyor or use your surveyor. And this dispute is resolved by having a party wall award. It's what you call a party wall agreement. So dissent doesn't mean, no, you can't do your works. It just means they need an award to make sure that the time and the manner of the works are determined. It's a bit of technical language there. Okay, number 2, please stop doing this. I mean, look, have a chat with your neighbour over the fence, by all means. If you have a chat with your neighbour over the fence about a party wall project and they turn around and change their mind, don't come back and say, I told you so, because that's what happens loads of times. How do you deal with this? You should actually say, look, we are going to have an extension. Here's a party wall notice. Have a look at it. If you've got any questions, ask my surveyor or ask my architect. I would say ask my surveyor. Not only because I'm great at it. Architects don't always know how to deal with them. You may not know how to deal with their questions. I'm more than happy to help you. So that's the way to approach it. Yeah. And you can have a chat with your neighbor over whatever else is going on in the world. Sometimes not even that's not a good idea, right? So don't just leave it at a chat. And later on, I'm going to give you a bonus in terms of trying to save you money on how to deal with party wall. Got 2 ideas actually. Okay, here's number 1 on the list. Number 1 question I get asked, answered, comments I hear. In fact, I was having a debate with a bunch of surveyors last week, I think last Thursday. That's why I was on strike. I was going to see some surveyors. Okay, I sent my neighbour a party wall agreement and received no reply. Can I start works? All right, there's 3 errors in that little sentence. You do not send your neighbours a party wall agreement. You send them a notice. I'm going to explain this in a minute. And receive no reply. Okay, they haven't replied. You're in dissent, actually. Can I start my works? No, you can't. Because this is a topic of constant, I was going to say dismay to surveyors. The government stuff is wrong. I know people from the government listen to this show, so I'm telling you guys, you've got it wrong. Probably get deleted. Right, okay. So the question you're going to ask is, Dill, why do I take the party wall process? Why do I want to do the party wall process? Right, firstly, yeah, it's my mate. Firstly, it's the law, right? So you have to take it. Secondly, when you issue a notice, you're asking for what's called a schedule of condition survey of your neighbour's property. Now, if you're a person doing the works, hang on, I've got my screen on, right. That's there to protect you. So, number of times we've gone into houses next door, there's cracks, there's all sorts of stuff going on. And even we've had to look outside and say, we sure they haven't started the works next door, because the damage looks exactly like where it would be had they done a loft conversion. So it's there to protect you as someone doing building works. Yeah, like I said, false and malicious claims. Okay. The other problem you're going to get is if you ignore the party wall process, the neighbours are they're a bit upset, they're a bit difficult, and they've got lawyers as family, friends or something. They're going to take an injunction, stop your works midstream, and you're going to have to do the party wall process anyway, and it's going to cost you time and delay. Really interesting case I came across where the next door neighbour was a barrister. And I said, listen, you guys have really picked the wrong person to do this with, right? Anyway, nice enough couple, but they didn't move out the house, and they were lucky it wasn't a bad summer. It was prior to the lockdown. They were actually in the house with no roof. Wow. Okay. Excuse me. The Party Wall Act is one of these laws that's defines a strict responsibility on the owners. It's a bit like health and safety. You can't wriggle out of it. There you go. You can't say it's my architect, my builder, or my project manager's duty. No, it's yours. If you own the property, it's your responsibility. It's one of these laws, right? Okay. So as I alluded to earlier, the project might be stopped midstream. If they take legal action, you're going to have extra costs if you deal with it, and you're going to have to do it. So get it done in the first place. And just in case you missed it the first time around, it is the law, right? So just got to make it absolutely clear. Okay. Now, who should be interested in watching this webinar at least 5 times and learning every little bit of detail? Yeah, it's not going to happen, right? But let's have a go. So architects, construction professionals, they're almost what I call the linchpin, right? And unfortunately, not that I know yet, you can't click on Amazon and order a loft. You have to go to an architect. You have to go through a process, and they'll say, well, yeah, okay, we've done your drawings. You need to find a builder. They're the ones that should be really telling people about finding a party wall process. And later on, I'm going to come to it. All these professionals have sort of, as subjects have become more and more complex, they've become more and more specialized. So they might not know what the other profession does. They have an idea of it, but they can't do it. So I can't do architectural drawings, so I don't do them. Okay. Property developers definitely need to know about this stuff, because whether you're refurbishing one house or you're building the Shard, you definitely need to know about it, right? Okay. And finance guys, I predicted about, what are we going, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer, that bridging guys and finance guys will be asking for this stuff soon. And lo and behold, I've had at least 3 projects where the finance guys are saying, where's your party wall details? And the reason it was a little bit obvious that if you've got project finance, you've got 12 months, 15 months, you could take up to 3 months dealing with this stuff. So you need to start it before you even apply. Yeah. Okay. So property managers and investors. So if you're very lucky and you've got a few properties, or you manage properties as your profession, you need to understand the implications as an adjoining owner. You want to make sure your property is protected. Yeah. Because you worked hard for it, and it's hard enough to keeping properties to a decent state. It's getting harder and harder, right? So if you're a homeowner and you're looking to extend, you definitely need to know about this stuff, okay? If you're doing residential extensions as well. So homeowner, you need to be aware on 2 fronts: your neighbor's doing work, and you potentially doing works. Yeah. So there we go. It's the proper act. There's the logo. I think they might be changing it. I'm not sure. Okay, the party wall process. Let me see if I can simplify this, and let's have a go. So it's started by the building owner, who sends a notice to the adjoining owner. And I'll put it in red. This is not a party wall agreement. I know it sounds a bit pedantic, but you have to get your terminology right. So it's a notice. You send a notice to start the process, to invoke the process, as they'll say. It's served by the building owner. It's got to be in writing, and it starts the process. Now, that's stage 1. Okay. Stage 1, I was going to say, is the easy part, but it is easy to get wrong as well. It's quite complex, actually. And it's not because I want to pretend I'm doing more work than I am, but it's just when you realize how it can go wrong, you have to say it's more complex than it looks initially, especially when you ask Mr. Google or Mrs. Google. Stage 2, right? So building owner starts it, sends a notice to the adjoining owner. The adjoining owner decides what the outcome is, basically. Yeah, it's a two-way approach. These are the options. They select a schedule of condition, largely photographic survey. it's like renting a car. You know, they'll take photographs of the car, make sure when you bring it back, you haven't done a Jordan Belfont on it, scratch, bruise, and falling apart. So and like I said earlier, it protects you as someone doing building works, avoids all sorts of wrangles, false claims, malicious claims, and so on. Okay. Now, the other thing the adjoining owner can request is an award. Award is the party wall agreement. It's a legal document setting out rights and responsibilities of each side and other sort of stuff in it. There we go. Okay. And there's usually we write in their procedure what happens if there's damage. A little procedure in their little note. So that's basically the two-step process. Now, here's some terms that I've referred to, so I'm going to go through them. Building owner. This is one entity, could be a limited company. This is the person or the entity who wants to do the building works. It's only one of those. This is going to look really unfair. On the other side, you've got adjoining owners, and there's multiple classes, and each class could potentially have more than one. Okay, so you've got the freeholders. You've got the leaseholders. This is more than 1 year. Yeah. So anybody who's got a lease of more than 1 year is a notifiable adjoining owner. There's a thing here where commercial properties can slip through the net. They don't need to be registered under 7 years, but usually commercial leases are more than 1 year, so you can slip through the net on those. All right. Okay. Right to receive profits, where you've exchanged contracts or funny little creative vehicles that property investors get involved in, and you have a right to receive profits. You're also a notifiable adjoining owner. And last but not least, and this is going to be a less of a problem now, because as the market cools down, when the market's hot and people are exchanging or trying to buy neighbors' houses, if you've exchanged, you're a notifiable owner. Okay. Groups that are excluded: short-term tenants, council tenants, and mortgage companies. You don't need to worry about those guys. Yeah, obviously they're important, but not in terms of the party wall process. The reason I bring the freehold up is there's only ever one freeholder of an adjoining building. Okay, so that at least that's a relief. There can be multiple of the others, and DIY notices only work for freehold. I'm going to come to that in a minute. Okay. So here's a bit more about the notice process. You really need to understand this, because this is one of the biggest things that causes problems. Okay. Now, once as a building owner serves a notice to the adjoining owner, and for each adjoining owner, the process is going to be different. It could do one of these things. Okay. So the adjoining owner can consent, say, okay, yeah, go ahead. Let's do a schedule of conditions so we don't have an argument afterwards. They're being very nice to you, right? Bingo. For that adjoining owner, job done. You can get ready to start the works. On the other hand, they could say, look, and I mentioned dissent earlier. This is what I mean by dissent. No, I'm dissenting to your notice, but unless they take an injunction, they can't stop the works. But I'm happy to have an agreed surveyor, i.e. the same surveyor as you, and we're allowed to act as agreed surveyor except for basements and commercial projects, because they're a bit more complex. And the other thing that can happen is they can appoint their own surveyor. Either of those two, the outcome is pretty much similar. We'll do a schedule of condition survey and do what's called a party wall award. You might think, where's a party wall agreement, right? So 1, 2, 3, there you go. Same thing for that adjoining owner. Good to go. You're ready to start works. Now, this is the secret part that's missing. This is a bit everybody mucks up and forgets. Okay, because it's not in the government website. Don't forget to tell them that. If you get no response from the neighbor, the adjoining owner, this only applies to one type of note. There's only one exception to this, right? I'm not going to go through that one. But if you get no response for 14 days, you must send them a reminder letter. Yeah. And then if they still don't reply, appoint a surveyor on their behalf. Then you ask, you can only request it, you can't make them do it, a schedule of condition. And if they say no, or they don't respond, you do a party wall award and bingo, you're good to go. So that's that bit there. Okay. Now, here's another question I get. When can we start works? We got to start yesterday. Right. So 10-4 process, non-response from the adjoining owner. And this is why I quote the number of days I quote before I can tell you what's going to happen. Okay, you've sent a notice, 14 plus 2 days. It could be slightly more than 2 days. There's rules about serving a notice postage and all of this. I'm not going to go through it now. It's like, so we've got 16 days. We send a 10-4 letter, you got 10 plus 2, which is another 12 days, 28 days. And then you've appointed a surveyor. They'll usually write to them. This could be done slightly earlier, but 36 to 38 days is, at this point, we'll know which way it's going. So we can give you an estimate of what's going to happen on average, right? So it is more than 1 month's notice as they talk about. And usually once we get to this point, we can wrap it up quite quick. So this is quite a good estimate. Now you're saying, Dill, I don't like this 10-4 process. I know it's an old CB term, but what if I don't do it? What happens? Right. Okay. So if you don't carry out the 10-4 process for adjoining owners, engage in the process, even if you don't. We see a lot of adjoining owners who get upset by the fact it's not the surveyor they would have wanted to appoint, but still engage in it, because otherwise you're going to have no survey of your property. You're not protected either. Right? For a building owner, if you don't do this, you move on, your works could potentially get stopped. Yeah. So now I'm going to give you a piece of magic here. This is the letter, the 10-4 wording letter. People scrape the notices. I'm going to show you what's roughly in the letter. With reference to the notice that was dated, obviously don't put XXX, put the date. I haven't received a reply, therefore you're in dispute. It's a deemed dispute. I'm going to request that you either appoint a surveyor or you could do an agreed surveyor, or I'll appoint one for you. However, you could still use us as agreed surveyors. So it's a bit like, you know, when you see these movies and the thing they say, they read that warning out. You have the right to remain silent. If you do not remain silent, and you know, that one, I don't even know what it is now, but, you know, obviously been watching too many movies. So that's a sort of similar principle. Look, we've sent you a letter. It was dated this, you haven't done it. Either do it or we're going to appoint a surveyor on your behalf. That's the legal principle behind it. Okay. So moving on, if you'd like more information, I have my own YouTube channel. It's not as good as this one. Don't tell anybody, but yeah. Look, there's my YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to this channel and that one. You know, it's really appreciated. But I'm going to give you a bonus. I promised you a bonus. Have we got enough time? Yep. Let's go for the bonus section, right? Okay. These are all the pretty pictures you'll see in the government site, but, and I know the PM's busy. They're all busy mucking up, making things expensive for us, no doubt. So here's some pictures. You'll find them on the government website, but what you won't find is this thing. This is a PDF we've created. You can have it for absolutely free. Send us an email. I'll send it to you. Okay. That's a checklist of how you serve a notice properly. Yeah. Basically, you print this out, you do it, fill that tick, 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 tick. That's how you do a notice properly. If you're going to do it yourself. And tell you the truth, I wouldn't do it myself. But anyway, I can't stop you. And here's also what would I say? Those are templates that are easier to fill in than the stuff on the government site. We've tried to make them easy. There's 1, 3, and 6. 1 and 6 are used for rear extensions. 3 is used for loft conversions or taking chimneys out. Right, so that's should make it really simple for you. I'll send it to you if you request it by email. Yeah. Now, during the lockdown, I spent about a year doing talks on this. And prior to that, I spent 2 years going around talking. Yeah, I know. And I came to this conclusion that DIY notices only work in the following circumstances. So this is almost like a health warning, right? If you've got a normal house, semi-detached, and your neighbors are semi-detached, and there's a boundary and you've got a driveway, yeah, that's okay. It's going to work, right? So basically you're a house and both your neighbors are houses. Bingo, you're fine, right? If you're a house that's been converted into flats and your neighbor's a house and the other side's a house, you should take advice because you could do this wrong, okay? Don't want you doing it wrong. If you're a house and you've got flats next to you, i.e. a house that's been converted in flats, or you've got purpose-built flats, I know this setup you usually don't get, but pretend you've got it, right? And you're going to do something to the party wall. So for example, this could be a shop and you've got a shop that's been converted into flats, something of that idea. Don't do it. It's just too complex. And the reason is you've got to notify the leaseholder, the freeholder, maybe the upstairs freeholder and the one above that, and you're not sure who to do. So don't do it yourself. Get someone to do it. Obviously, other surveyors are available, but you really need someone else to do it. Right. Now, remember, subscribe, like, and all the rest of it on both YouTube channels. I'm going to give you an extra bit of bonus, actually. Yeah, because times are getting challenging. So let's give you an extra bonus. Okay. Now, this is a reoccurring problem. We see it all the time. You might not understand it if it's the first time you're doing a conversion or an extension to your home. Okay. It's what they call unsolicited approaches, right? There's the guidance from our professional body that says, we don't endorse it, but you can do it. That's what it's saying, basically. Okay. Right. So what happens the minute you put so most useful piece of legislation or planning is PD, permitted development rules. So there's a bunch of, I was talking to someone this afternoon. There's a bunch of parameters you can do. You can do planning and extensions under PD. So yeah, it's useful. The council can't say no. And amazingly, the chap I was talking this morning said, yeah, we do it first and then we get a PD certificate if we need it. So that's really interesting because that used to happen in the old days, but I thought people stopped doing it. But interesting, right? Anyway, why is this important? Let me explain it to you, right? Okay, so this is the normal way things get done. People will put their planning application in. PD is usually 8 weeks, and then they'll wait to start a party wall process. For PD, do not do this. This is going to cost you extra money. Why? If you put your PD application in on Monday, by Friday, your neighbors are going to receive about 12, 16 letters, maybe even 20, depending on where they live, from other party wall surveyors that are doing unsolicited approaches. Why is that important? Okay, because, and the reason I came across this is I kept running into a number of cases where they said, well, my neighbors are great. We get on great. They'll consent. And when we eventually send them a notice after they get the planning, they said, no, we've suddenly got letters from other surveyors saying they've signed up. So the neighbors are talking to us, what's going on? Why have you signed up with these guys? And they're saying, well, the reason we just filled in a form, or we didn't know you were going to send us a notice, or we thought you were trying to hide something. We would have consented. We thought that's how it was done. So what's happening is you're putting your planning application in for PD. You're waiting for it to go through for 8 weeks. put it in a Monday, by Friday, your neighbors are getting letters and they're getting either upset or they think what's going on, or they sign up accidentally. So therefore, your neighbors end up appointing a surveyor when they may not have done so. So as with anything else in life, it's not guaranteed. This is what I call notices come sooner. And I put PD. So once you've got your project ready to go, first draft, architects pay attention. Yeah. Start the party wall process. Give your neighbor the notice. Let it run. And then put your planning application in. This is not a guaranteed result, but it helps to move the needle in your favor. Yeah. Because your neighbors are more likely to trust you if you've already sent them a notice. And here it is. You're the first one in the door. You will be expecting more letters and say, yeah, it's all right. We know what's happening. It's not a shock to them. It gives them a better chance of consenting. Yeah. So, like I said, party wall process. Who needs to know about it? Homeowners, surveyors who don't do party wall stuff, they should know about it, and construction professionals. So, remember, that's it. So, kept it brief and short. No more questions. Everyone's disappeared. It's such a brilliant presentation. Everyone's understood what I've said. So, look, if you've got any questions, my contact details will be in the bottom. Send me an email. Email's best thing. Don't do WhatsApp. Come on, let's all be grown-ups. Yeah, email, please. Love to have your questions, all the interesting ones, and we really look forward to having an interesting program next week. So that's all there is. I guess we better get going early because there's apparently there's some news that we've got to look at. Yeah, we know what's going on there, right? So, look, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe. We're going to go and collect some more 50p's so we can bring you another great program next week. It's a bit of a surprise next week, but tune in. And I guess Surinder was a bit upset with me going on strike last week, so he's disappeared somewhere. Yeah. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and what's the other thing? Share. Yeah, that's it. All three. And we'll see everybody next week.